The world's most beautiful cities are often those that offer an exhilarating mix of both old and new. Unfortunately, the two often clash. At Autodesk, developers are using 3D modeling tools to help municipal planners build better cities by first creating digital cities.
What's happening with digital cities is basically there's a lot of new technologies that engineers and architects are using that allows them to create 3D models of buildings. There's a lot of new geospatial data coming from a variety of sources, and there's new techniques for utilizing this data. And so with digital cities, what we're doing is we're actually making it easier for people to bring this data together. And we've identified 3 cities where we're actually doing pilots. This is Vancouver, Incheon in Korea, and Salzburg in Austria. I think most people know where these places are. Incheon is actually where the Seoul airport is, one of the best airports in the world. Salzburg is where the Mozart Festival happens every year, and also a good place for pastries. Vancouver is where the World Olympics are going to be in 2010. So these are very important places, and they're different sizes. Salzburg is relatively small, Incheon is sort of medium-sized, and Vancouver is a 2 million size city. This is what they did first. It was sort of the downtown part of Vancouver, and over time they've added to it. They've added more buildings, they've added more detail to the buildings. But it's still pretty much a bunch of blocks. Right? Mm-hmm. This is like a bunch of blocks. I mean, this is things like kids could build. But still, it's very useful for what they want to do. But when you look at some other things, this is a digital model of Seattle. This was done by Parsons Brinckerhoff. And this is so good. And this was done with a gaming engine, okay? So you'll see cars driving around. You'll see trams driving around. You'll see people walking around. This is different from the other static things that you might have seen. This was done by Parsons Brinckerhoff, which is a large engineering firm. And they did it for the city of Seattle because they had to deal with the Alaskan Way. And I don't know if you've been to Seattle, but the Alaskan Way is is a freeway that runs on the waterfront. They've determined that if there's an earthquake, that thing will collapse. So they have to replace it. There's 2 alternatives: an underground alternative and an elevated alternative. Right now, it's basically elevated. So this was put together. This was commissioned by the city of Seattle from Parsons Brinckerhoff, and this shows you the underground alternative, right? So you can see the cars just went underground, and this shows you, if you've been to Seattle, this shows you what the waterfront could look like. This is totally simulation. This is not a movie, right? This is a simulation, and this is what the waterfront could look like if they use the underground alternative. What you'll see now is we'll pan around, and you'll see a blue bar moving across, and to the right you'll see the elevated alternative. Okay, so this is the same waterfront, except now you can see there's an elevated freeway there, and we'll pan around and we'll go along it. But this is important because the cost of the underground one is much higher than the elevated one. What we're doing is Autodesk is working with these cities, with the city governments in each case, and some cases with universities, local universities, to basically adapt and expand their 3D urban modeling capability so that they can start using more engineering data and more architecture data together with data from geospatial sources and from overflights and other things like that. And these are going to be models that Autodesk will be using to help us develop our products so that we can produce products that are more useful to cities.